today's webinar, Shri Gopal Krishna Agarwal ji, who always give motivation, inspiration, who always give guidance for the betterment of profession, for betterment of society, and always encourage to do something better for society, for growth of India, for growth of our economy. Indeed, he is very knowledgeable, very experienced in the industry, in the Indian politics, in the economy. He is author, panelist, and very key member of Bharatiya Janata Party, presently serving as national spokesperson of Bharatiya Janata Party. So I'm very thankful to you, sir, for accepting my invite to grace this occasion and sharing your views. So today we are going to hear Gopal Agarwal ji as a panelist, as a guest of honor, and he will share his views on the reform of banking sector. As we can witness the changes which are coming since last 5 years. Indeed, I can say when BJP came into the picture, he has done a lot of changes, but in last 5 years, we can see the drastic changes. So, sir has also served as the directorship in the Bank of Baroda. So, he can also give some insight for the professional opportunities as well, which we can absorb in the future. So, also thankful to Dinesh Chandak ji, who is the National Vice President of
Marwari Yuva
National Vice President of Akhil Bharati Marwari Yuva Manch, and the guest speaker for today's webinar, Sri Raghavendra Goyal ji, who is the presently serving as CSA of PNB, and my elder brother, Sri J.K. Tiwari ji, who always guide me and motivate me to organize this session, and he is the co-host of today's webinar as well. So I'm thankful to him always, and I want to pay my gratitude to all the participants who are watching live on Zoom and on YouTube as well. So thank you so much all the participants and panelists for joining us today, and look forward to have a wonderful session. Thank you so much, Gopal Agarwal ji, once again for accepting my request to join the session and grace all of us with your words of wisdom. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anirudh sir. Thank you so much, Anirudh sir. And now I welcome our guest of honor for today's session, Sri Gopal Krishna Agarwal ji. Ask him to share words of wisdom and views on reform in Indian banking system. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Vikaji.
Thank you.
I would like to here acknowledge Anirudh ji, who has invited me on today's session and given me this opportunity to interact with my professional colleagues. I'm audible clearly?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It is an immense pleasure always to interact with professionals who are always working for the betterment and development of the country. We as a profession take pride in our profession, which helps in creating an ecosystem of transparency and regulation and efficiency in the financial structures. I have always been talking when I was associated with this Jan Lokpal movement also, that chartered accountant in itself are the true watchdog of any corruption or any movement in the. They are always working as a Lokpal for the efficient management and regulation of the financial and banking sector. So we have to have pride in our profession, as Anirudh ji also said. And we have to work for the betterment of the nation. And these kind of discussions always helps in policy changes and corrections at the government level also. Whatever interaction I have on these platforms, it helps me in making my vision clear. And it also helps me to convey the aspirations and the policy thinking of the professions and give it to the government from the party platform. So I always look forward to this interaction. The today's topic is also very relevant and very important. I would also like.
सर अनम्यूट है, अनम्यूट कर लीजिए सर.
हाँ, okay. हाँ,
Yes.
ठीक है. हाँ, I would also like to acknowledge my co-panelists Dinesh Chandak ji, Raghavendra Goyal ji, and all the professional colleagues here. Friends, this is a very important topic at the current time because post-COVID, there are certain stress in the banking sector, and these stress, which are again considered to be extremely risk averse, creating some certain risk averseness in the banking system, has been a cause of concern for the Ministry of Finance and even at the RBI level and in the banking sector also. Because if the economy has to grow, banking sector provides that liquidity and it acts as a catalyst to develop and provide the financing to the banks. So this is very important. But if you see that there is certain kind of risk averseness in certain lending institutions, and that has been a serious cause of concern and discussion at the policy makers level also. The focus of post-fiscal stimulus package 1, 2, 3 that have been announced over the period to support the economy has been to create liquidity into systems and provide credit to various MSME, agriculture sector, various priority sector, even various large industries, etc. So the government has been trying to tackle this risk aversion by providing credit guarantee. And that credit guarantee in itself takes away certain part of risk averseness in the banking systems and has helped, whether if the government has announced that the government will go for a credit to the MSME sector to the tune of 3.5 lakh crores. The government is going for a credit guarantee also. This is an important area. The way the government has been focusing in providing liquidity and credit to the credit to the various industries, MSME, etc. For that, the government is also going for providing credit guarantee. That is the one way that government thinks at present that the economy will move ahead, and therefore this banking sector is very important that our economy moves ahead. If we look into the reforms currently, generally there are 4 phases after the independence that we see in the banking sector. It was once around 1947, there was one phase where there were very small banks, etc., which started working in the country. Then after 1947 to 1967, many corporate sectors came out with large corporate houses, set up different banks. And those banks set up by those corporates were helping their industries to grow through their financing, collecting deposit from the public, then leveraging it to give loans to the corporate sector. And that way, the private banking sector from the corporate houses came in the growth formation. Then in 1967 to the third phase of the banking sector was between 1967 to 1991, where the need was felt that banking sector, in addition to catalyzing business, should also lend into the priority sectors. It has to expand its branches. It has to give loan to agriculture sector and certain priority MSME sector like small businesses, etc. And priority sectors were defined, retail, etc. And for that, it was thought at that point of time that we should nationalize bank. And there was in 2 phases, in 1969 and in 1980, most of the private sector banks were nationalized. Then the 4th phase of the banking ecosystem started from 1991 to 2014, where again it was felt that there is a need for foreign banks and even private banks, and therefore licenses were given and foreign banks were allowed to operate in the country. And even for that, controlling that, Basel norms, etc., was accepted by the country financial sector, banking sector, and RBI, so that the capital structure of the bank becomes strong, etc. And the PJ Nayak committee was set up, which gave that there has to be again a functional autonomy about appointment of managing director, appointment of independent directors, institutions to be strengthened, decontrolling banking regulation from the Department of Financial Services, give them autonomy, independence, etc. And the cycle reversed from nationalization to privatization. And in 2014, I will focus after 2014, when our government came. That point of time, a mega reform process started again. From 2091 to 2014, when there was a phase of privatization of many banks, giving license to private banks, opening up of private banks, etc. And even in the PSUs, there was a way where large loans were given to private sectors with not proper due diligence, etc. And it led to accumulation of large NPAs. And in that NPAs accumulation, it was also found that there was no strong resolution mechanism for NPAs. Banks were saddled with large NPAs at one point of thing. Second was, even the identification and recognition of those NPAs was not proper. And if that recognition of NPAs and their provisioning is take place, then the banking capitalization was becoming weak. So after 2014, the immediate step by the Modi government was to recognize NPAs first thing. And after recognition, slowly the banking sector, it was felt that banking sector has to get certain resolution mechanism which will help resolve these bad loans issues, and provisioning of provision on these bad loans was also required. And therefore, certain amendments, strong laws were put in place. The mega reform that we call, it's even today, the biggest reform in the banking sector, financial sector, is setting up of Insolvency Bankruptcy Code and NCLT. There were earlier experiments with various resolution processes, but because of court interference and other issues, etc., the NPAs were not getting resolved. The banking money, which was locked up into various bad loans, etc., was not getting resolved. So government made a big reform in the form of Insolvency Bankruptcy Code, set up NCLT courts, and started this resolution process. In addition to that, the government also came out with 2-3 important legislative reform. That was Fugitive Offenders Act, that we see that Nirav Modi or Mehul Choksi, etc., which were trying to run away from the country's banking sector after taking their loan. Their property had to be confiscated, the money had to be recovered, and therefore Fugitive Offender Act was put in place. And second important was Benami Properties Act, which was enacted by the Parliament 27 years back, but was not notified for almost 27 years. That was notified in 2016. So Benami Property Act, where various promoters who were used to diverting their funds after taking loan from the bank to various different companies, their properties could be confiscated, fugitive offenders' properties could be confiscated, IBC itself was strengthened slowly, etc. Those reforms were put in place. And therefore, after 2014, NPA recognition, which was at one point of time, though it existed to the tune of around 17 to 18 lakh crore in the bank, mostly in PSU bank, was not recognized, and NPA resolution started taking shape, and over 6-7 years, we have been able to resolve almost 4 to 4.5 lakh crore of NPAs, and a recovery of that money has started. In addition to that, now what we call is a need of the fifth generation of reforms in the banking sector. Again, due to IBC, certain further NPA, there is a chance and there is a apprehension that new bad loans may accumulate. Even MSME sector may see certain increment into the bad loan areas. And also in 2013, RBI came out with a report, and then there was a Narasimhan committee report which said that in 2014 we had almost 87 banks in the whole ecosystem, out of which 27 banks were the public sector banks, 40 were foreign banks, and 20 private banks. And it was thought that we don't need, because slowly now the banking sector is moving to digitizations. Financial transactions, there is no less need of person going physically to the bank, and various types of digital transactions are taking place. They are increasing by day and night. Various new technological innovations are taking place, and our government put a lot of focus after 2014 into direct benefit transfers, initiative like Jan Dhan account, opening up large banks, and through bank. तो ये बाकी लोग म्यूट कर लेंगे तो ठीक रहेगा. तो therefore the fifth level of reforms that now is an important focus for all of us. What the government is thinking now, which I talked about, was that the Narasimhan committee said, and RBI's 2013 report on structural reforms in the banking sector said, that we don't need so many of public sector banks. We don't need 26 banks. And I was on the board of Bank of Baroda. It was the first bank where merging of Vijay Bank and Dena Bank took place. And the government started on the process of merging of several banks. And now the government thinking is that we don't need more than 7 to 8 public sector banks. The structure which RBI has suggested and Narasimhan committee has suggested is that India needs 3 to 4 large banks like SBI, Bank of Baroda, Punjab National Bank, and other smaller and second tier banks, other PSU banks should be merged. So government has embarked on this process, and due to COVID, it has certain challenges, and there is a roadblocks in certain issues, but government is planning to merge and have only 5-6 major mega banks on the line of large banks globally. 4-5 large banks in India which have huge capital. They are strongly capitalized, and strong technological innovations and strong technology is there in those banks, because in future technology is an important parameter. We don't need so many of branches. Technologically very robust infrastructure is required as regard to risk management, cyber security, payment structures, online consultation, online transactions and reconciliations, etc. So technology will be the big motivator. Technology requires huge investment, and therefore government is moving towards the direction of consolidating banks, PSUs, particularly into 4-5 large banks. Second was, they said that in addition to that, you can have
easy, isn't
second tier
So,
mid-sized
what are
bank.
you waiting for?
And
Recharge your Airtel DTH from the comfort of your home.
Goel Saab, haan. So, And the second important change that the current government is looking into was development financial institution. What was happening is that over the year, our banking system became a universal bank. Every bank is doing everything. Whether slowly our banks have moved towards getting into the financial services, selling mutual fund, selling insurance, and selling, focusing on consumer finance, fee-based activities, etc. And at times moving away from its core activity of financing. Therefore, the need was felt from the Narasimhan Committee report, also from the RBI report, was that earlier we had development financial institutions which were specific to certain segments of economic development. Same type of, like we had ICICI, IFCI, IDBI, development financial institutions, which focus on long-term development projects. So now the government has again set up development financial institutions, which are called niche bank, tackling only for specific sectors, certain going for infrastructure, certain going for power sectors, and other sectors only. So we need long-term financial institutions that is being set up. And in addition to all the NPA resolution process, the government in this budget had announced that we will set up asset reconstruction company, which will be a pass-through vehicle, where assets, NPA assets which have accumulated into the bank will be parked at the midterm to the this asset reconstruction company, and private sectors, asset management companies will come forward, and through the open tendering process, this ARC assets will be put on sale, where asset management company from the private sectors will bid and take over that assets. So the reluctance on the part of various banks to restructure loans or to write off certain portions of the bank will go away. Asset reconstruction company is a government arm which will have the talent to take over these assets, create their right valuation, assess their right valuation, then go for the open tendering process, auction process, where assets can be auctioned, and help into the implementation of IBC. So asset management company, private players can set up asset management companies which can bid for assets from the asset reconstruction company. These are another opportunities that whatever I'm talking about are the opportunities for private professionals to work in addition to IBC, etc. So formation of asset management company taking over assets from the asset reconstruction company is one thing. Development financial institution will look into the need of heavy infrastructure investment from the company. Even the payment banks are coming up. Self-financing self-help financing groups are coming up. Government is focusing on small finance companies also. So these are the other important areas which are seeing development into the field, into the future development field, into the banking sector. Third thing that I'm talking about is about the cooperative sector banking. RBI has recently on 25th June came out with certain new initiatives on taking up what cooperative sector has seen over the year quite challenging atmosphere. Various cooperative banks have come up in the various small areas. They are not very much capitalized. They take deposits, and RBI is finding it very difficult to control so many of cooperative banks. So RBI wants the reform process in the cooperative banks, and it has come out with certain amendments into appointment of managing director, guideline for that, risk officer in the cooperative banks, managing risk and outsourcing of financial services, how they will manage. They have been outsourcing their financial risk management services to different private companies, cyber risk, etc. So RBI has come out with cooperative banks guidelines on these issues. And even the setting up of new ministries in the cooperative sector with Amit Shah ji at the helm. The government thinks that the cooperative sector will be a big catalyst for the economic growth and development of the country, and will help in the outreach of the government policies, as was done in the financial inclusion case in the Jan Dhan account. Similarly, cooperative sector will help. So further strengthening of cooperative sector, particularly on the banking, will also take place in addition to various other cooperatives. The government does not think that we will regulate these cooperatives. It's a policy making system, supporting system, coordinating between the states and coordinating with the regulators so that this cooperative sector is strengthened. So big reform is on the card on the cooperative banking sector. Another one thing that we are working on in the future is FRDI. We did bring out a bill in FRDI, but due to certain opposition from various segments, where there is generally a feeling that there is a sovereign guarantee in the financial institution. IBC has a strong resolution mechanism law, but it focuses mostly on manufacturing sector, NPA resolution. And therefore, there is a need for financial resolution in the resolution mechanism for the financial institutions, etc. Financial resolution and deposit insurance is one bill that the government is thinking and working on, because generally there is a feeling that the deposits, there is a clear-cut guarantee, complete sovereign guarantee on the financial institution deposit. But on the fact of it, this is not the case. Earlier, there was financial insurance to the tune of 1 lakh per depositor only. And we saw certain PMC and other cooperative bank, how complicated it became. Government has at present increased its limit of insurance to 5 lakh per depositor. But ultimately, we do need a financial resolution and deposit insurance sort of bill. Government is working on it, and it will come on this. We will see privatization of banks also. In addition to merger, government is also looking towards privatization of certain other smaller banks. All the 26 banks cannot be merged. The government is also looking for privatization of certain small and medium-sized banks. That is also on the card. And ultimately, strong technological solutions and infrastructure is what I think is on the card. So what future reforms that we see is FRDI Act, then development financial institution, strengthening IBC more, then cooperative sector banking strengthening, then this ARC, asset reconstruction company, setting up of AMC, and moving from universal banking to different type of banking for niche banking for particular segments, etc. And banking sector moving more on the technological front, strengthening technological front, and also going certain banks on this fees-based incomes, selling product like insurance, mutual funds. So segregation of these activities. In addition, government, if you see over 2-3 years, government is also strengthening the institution of independent directors. Earlier, lot of political this ministry's involvement was there on the appointments of the independent director, etc. on the banking sector. Government at present has set up this Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, where independent directors, regulation, registration, their training, and from that independent directors bank, various independent directors will be picked up by PSBs and PSUs, is a sort of setting up an independent data bank for appointment of independent directors. Is also a way by which government think that less autonomy be given, more autonomy be given to the banking sector. So these opportunities, in addition to IBC resolution, strengthening, etc., is an important. And over the years from future, government will be banking more on credit guarantee, and liquidity is one way where government creating liquidity to the bank is also an area where government want to catalyze the post fiscal stimulus figure, and direct benefit transfer. Even you see Bhim app or other apps have been very successful, and India hashtag for payment, online payment, etc. are very much successful, and internationally they are being accepted and is being integrated. So I think these are certain points which came to my mind, which are mega reforms, and banking sector can look into this, can give a lot of opportunities for professionals, in addition to what we generally do about this audit and other consulting. One thing I would like to just lastly mention is my experience over the 4 years, 3 years on the banking sector and working in the finance ministry has been lot of consultation work has been moving towards certain multinational companies. And many of our auditing friends, chartered accountant friends, which is a very lucrative business as far as fees, etc. is concerned, lose out on that. So the government has also come out with certain strong guidelines about consultation work and audit work being separated, and consultation work not being concentrated to certain large MNCs. There is a clear-cut instruction that it has to be distributed. But what we find lacking in our professional colleagues is that we don't have large practicing professional companies which have arms like research, presentation. We need to develop this. I have seen a big difference in presentation. We do good work, but when it comes to presentation, data collection, research, our professional firms lack on that. These are very simple. Once you have content, a presentation can be done by any technical person. So we need to have more inputs in our professional firms, which can give good, nice presentations. Then we also need to have certain research associates who can give data about anything. What we see, we cannot see just subjective opinions. That doesn't take doesn't cut much ice with the government, etc. We need to support that our subjectivity or our presentation with certain data, which gives a lot of strength. So certain firms, in addition to only having chartered accountant, they should have certain presentation skill person with them. Secondly, 1 or 2 research associates which have knowledge of research methodology, collection of data, and putting it into a proper good knowledge of Excel sheet, PPT, and other softwares, etc. New infographics, etc. are coming, which gives a very effective presentation skill. So it helps our firms to impress upon the management boards, government department, etc. So these are the things I wanted to share with you, some of the ideas that came to my mind about the future and the past banking reform. But banking sector is going to be very robust. Government is also has allocated a lot of funds for capitalizing the banking sector at present. If you look into the latest RBI report on the banking sector, you will find that NPAs have reduced to a very large extent, and the capital ratios have improved of our banking sector. That shows that our banking sector has strengthened over the 6-7 years due to recoveries, and it has now capacity to expand credit, etc. And with new strong laws, it can and the guarantees from the government, it can extend its risk capacity. And I think with the tying up of NBFC and other small finance company banks and self-help groups, etc., and getting into new niche areas like consumer finance, etc. Banking sector is poised for a very good growth in the future. Thank you. I thank the Global Entrepreneurs and Professional Association for giving me this opportunity.